They'll probably get together after Christmas. The only other things that you might be interested from Rush, or one of the Rushes, is in October a DVD called R30, which is a HD shot video from Frankfurt, Germany, will be available. And like I said, that's in October, they tell me. I've been told by a couple of the people at the office, it's amazing looking. I mean, they say it beats out Rio. So there's that, and then there is another DVD which Neil and I shot about a month and a half ago in the Catskill Mountains in New York State with Hudson Music once again, and it's called Anatomy of a Drum Solo, Neil Peart, and it's basically his last 3 drum solos over the last 12 or 14 years, and he analyzes a lot of that, and it's a very well shot DVD again. So that will be available probably in January. And then the only other thing I know about is Neil's new book called Roadworks, which is about the R30 tour. And that will be available in probably January. It's in the final editing mode, and it'll be very interesting, as well as, you know, as interesting as his last 3 books. So that's your update right there. When we go into the studio, or I should say when we go into rehearsals, of course I put new batter heads on. When all these shells are fabricated at Drum Workshop, all the bottom resonant heads are tuned with a digital tuner. They're tuned to a pitch. The pitch is stamped on the inside of the shell, if you know anything about the DW stuff, and you'll see it inside the shells. All they do is they tweak the bottom head, the resonant head, and obviously they even up the top head, the batter head, with the bottom head, but they leave that to the drummer, because obviously everybody's got different velocities on how they play. You could have light tappers, you can have heavy hitters. So with Neil, he starts off with the 15 to his right, and it's not like I can't tune it for him, because I can tune drums. It's just he's been playing it for 30 years. It's just a normal thing. Steve Smith is like that also. He tunes his own drums, even though the guy that could be working with him can do it. It's just part of the playing of the drums, you know. So Neil will do that. I'll take all the batter heads off. I'll check the resonant heads. I'll come in, or he'll come in, and he'll start with this one, and I'll go over and I'll work on the programming or whatever. And he'll just take his time about it, and he usually starts with this one, goes down to the bottom end of it, and then goes up. And he's just gotten used to the size of the drums, and especially with the DWs, it's a well-crafted drum set. You know, when you get it to the pitch that you want, you know pretty well that that's it right there, you know. When he did a record with Jeff Berlin at one point, him and Steve Smith were playing on it. This is, I think, in the 80s sometime. I wasn't there, but Ronnie Montrose was a producer on the record. So Neil was in the control, or not the control room, the studio, and he was tuning up. I'm not sure how big a drum kit he actually had. I heard it actually today, the track, and it doesn't sound like he had a lot of drums in there. But he was tuning the toms, and Ronnie was over at a piano that was in the same studio, and he was finding chords that Neil was tuning the toms to. And then he would tell Neil, okay, that chord is a whatever, you know, and Neil didn't even realize he was doing that. So it's just something that he's gotten used to, and you know, there's drummers that don't know how to tune the kits, but you know, it's whatever you feel comfortable with, of course. But to tune the drum the right way, you know immediately that the drum is tuned, because it just rings and settles in. So hopefully that helps you. Go ahead.
How crazy was the Rio show set up?
To set up, it was a drag, because we had 2 days of a lot of rain. The show before Rio, the rain was coming sideways into the stage, and all the electronics, the mallet cat shut down. Everything was soaking wet, and there was nothing we could do about it. We did the show. Neil improvised when things weren't working. It was just impossible to do anything about it. So after that, we tear down and we stick all these wet instruments into wet cases for the drive to Rio, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you have no choice. And so we get to Rio, and finally we see the sun. They forgot to tell us that it was the rainy season before we went down there, and they were all outdoor stadium shows. But the audience made up for it. The audience was insane. They were just incredible. The band was completely blown away. And magically, everything worked in Rio, and we didn't even do a sound check, which was the first time in about 15 years that they hadn't done a sound check, and we were filming. So that is your worst nightmare right there, and you saw what it ended up like. So.